wonderful Vaishnavis who are giving me this opportunity to purify myself. Uh, Thank you to Malini Mataji for this chance to meditate on the Bhagavatam and its instructions and to present it for my own purification in front of so many senior Vaishnavis who have assembled here out of their kindness and their love for Bhagavatam. I'm also grateful to the many devotees who came on my invitation to kindly uh, see how I'm doing and correct me. So I request all Matajis, if I make any mistakes, it is purely my own, and kindly correct me so that I may not make them again and improve in my service and my understanding. Finally, this presentation, I am seeing it as an opportunity for myself to listen to my own words so that something goes into my thick head and my very hard heart, and maybe some understanding, some qualities that are described here may develop someday in me. So please bless me, Matajis. And with this I begin, seeking blessings and empowerment from my spiritual master, from Srila Prabhupada, and from all of you. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This story appears in the Srimad Bhagavatam as part of a discussion between Krishna and Uddhava. Uddhava is preparing to accept the renounced order of life after Krishna has informed him that he is soon winding up his earthly pastimes and that Uddhava must prepare to accept the renounced order in his service. Uddhava is naturally deeply aggrieved, but he also understands his responsibility, and so he approaches the Lord for instructions on how to engage in this service. How should a renounced person act, and how he can maintain himself in this very austere, very challenging position of life. And so Krishna gives him very beautiful instructions in the form of stories and analogies and anecdotes through the Uddhava Gita. And this is what we hear in the 11th canto. Particularly in the 8th chapter and the chapter preceding that, as well as the chapter succeeding it, we see the discussion of the Avadhuta Brahmana. This story of the Avadhuta Brahmana is narrated by Krishna to Uddhava to explain to him how a renounced person or a person in the spiritual path must use intelligence and logic to very scrutinizingly assess his circumstances, his situation, and the material world itself to elevate his own consciousness from that of the bodily concept to coming closer and closer to Krishna on the transcendental platform beyond the three modes. So this is the duty of a spiritualist, a transcendentalist, and one who is on the path of bhakti to use his intelligence in this way. And Krishna says that such a devotee worships him by his intelligence. He goes on to give this very beautiful example of the Avanti Brahmana who meets King Yadu, or rather King Yadu meets the Avanti Brahmana in the forest as he is on his travels searching for the meaning of life. King Yadu, as we all know, is a very wonderful devotee, a great exalted personality in the line of kings who later on came to be known as the ancestor of the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. So King Yadu is the monarch of that lineage where Lord Krishna himself appeared. King Yadu was the son of King Puru. And we know the story of how King Yayati. So King Yayati, we know, was also part of a very beautiful pastime in the Bhagavatam, where bewildered by his senses and his the pleasure of youth, he requests his sons to accept his youth in exchange for his old age. Now, several sons, out of all the sons, one son accepts, and that is Puru. But Yadu is one of the sons who does not accept. So we would think, oh, Yadu is such a pure devotee, then why did he not accept this as a plan of the Lord, as a service to his father? Yayati also later on becomes such an exalted soul, having realized the futility of trying to derive happiness from the senses. He very soon returns the youth that he acquired from his son back to him and engages in serious devotional service. But this question arises, why? I mean, we always think the son who disobeyed the father is the bad son. But Yadu had a reason for saying no. It was not because he wanted to enjoy his youth for himself, but because he had this great service of creating the next generation of kings. And soon they had to also engage in the service of leading to the appearance of the Supreme Personality himself. Because this service was waiting for him, he could not afford to exchange his youth in his father's service. So Yadu is a great king like that, and he was in search of transcendental knowledge and thus wandering across the earth. In his travels, he meets a Brahmana who is very handsome, well built, and also very effulgent, but who is lying down in a very inactive state. But because Yadu himself is a very exalted personality, he can see clearly that the Avadhuta Brahmana that is before him, who is before him, is not an ordinary soul. And so he approaches him for instruction. The Brahmana also sees that Yadu is a very sincere seeker and reciprocates accordingly. And in this dialogue, we hear how the Avadhuta Brahmana has traveled the world also, having seen and learned using his intelligence and his keen observation how different living entities, different elements of nature can teach him about the do's and don'ts for a person in the spiritual order or a renounced person. Through the examples of 24 gurus, ranging from honeybees to inanimate objects like trees, or okay, inanimate trees have life, but water, seemingly lifeless elements, from water to the earth to trees to bees and birds and all kinds of animals, and even to human beings in various situations of life, like thieves and a girl in her marriageable age. So many kinds of personalities. Avadhuta Brahmana explains to Yadu how it is that a person in the renounced order must behave or must not behave. And in this series of gurus, one of the gurus is this prostitute known as Pingala, who lives in the city of Vaideha. So we will read her story now. I presume I am audible so far. Okay. Please stop me if at any point I'm not audible, Matajis. So we'll recite the verses now. You can follow along if you have the text. For the prayers, I will leave some time so we can recite together. For the narration, I will just recite continuously.
Marriage. Yes. Seeing this, Hanuman was very, very happy.
I think someone's Mic don't.
Hence,
Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 8, Text 22. Pingalanamaveश्यासीद् वैदेह नगरे पुरा तस्यामे शिक्षितं किंचिन निबोध नृपनंदना. O son of kings, previously in the city of Vaideha there dwelled a prostitute named Pingala. Now please hear what I have learned from that lady. सास्वैरिण्ये कदा कान्तं संकेत उपनेष्यति अभूतकाले बहिर्द्वारे बिभ्रति रूपमुत्तमम्. Once that prostitute, desiring to bring a lover into her house, stood outside in the doorway at night, showing her beautiful form. Marga agacchato vikshya purushan purusharshabha tan shulkadan vittavatah kantan menerthaka mukhi. O best among men, this prostitute was very anxious to get money, and as she stood on the street at night, she studied all the men who were passing by, thinking, "Oh, this one surely has money. I know he can pay the price, and I'm sure he would enjoy my company very much." Thus she thought about all the men on the street. आगतेष्वापयातेषु सा सङ्केतोपजीविनी अप्यन्यो वित्तवान् कोऽपि मामुपैष्यति भूरिदः एवं दुराशया ध्वस्त निद्राद्वार्यवलम्बति निर्गच्छन्ति प्रविशति निशीथं समपद्यत. As the prostitute Pingala stood in the doorway, many men came and went, walking by her house. Her only means of sustenance was prostitution, and therefore she anxiously thought, "Maybe this one who is coming now is very rich? Oh, he is not stopping, but I'm sure someone else will come. Surely this man who is coming now will want to pay me for my love, and he will probably give lots of money." Thus, with vain hope, she remained leaning against the doorway, unable to finish her business and go to sleep. Out of anxiety, she would sometimes walk out toward the street, and sometimes she went back into her house. In this way, the midnight hour gradually arrived. Tasya vittashaya shushyad vaktraya dina chetasah nirvedah paramo jajne chinta hetu sukhavahah. As the night wore on, the prostitute who intensely desired money gradually became morose, and her face dried up. Thus, being filled with anxiety for money and most disappointed, she began to feel a great detachment from her situation, and happiness arose in her mind. Tasya nirvinna chittaya geetam shrunuyatha mama nirveda asha pashanam purushasya yatha hyasihi. The prostitute felt disgusted with her material situation and thus became indifferent to it. Indeed, detachment acts like a sword, cutting to pieces the binding network of material hopes and desires. Now, please hear from me the song sung by the prostitute in that situation. Nahyangajata nirvedo dehabandham jihasati yatha vijnanarahito manujo mamatam nripa. O king, just as a human being who is bereft of spiritual knowledge never desires to give up his false sense of proprietorship over many material things, similarly, a person who has not developed detachment never desires to give up the bondage of the material body. Following this, Pingala's prayers begin, which we will recite shortly. First, we will discuss this development of feelings and detachment that has arisen in Pingala's heart. So naturally, we may think usually that Pingala's situation is quite different from ours, or we are very far placed from what Pingala is going through. But the fact is that there isn't much difference. Pingala is not very different from us, or rather, we are not very different from Pingala, in that each of us are trying to please various masters, whether it be at work or in our life, our daily affairs. We look to satisfy, to please various kinds of people, often with or without reciprocation of various degrees. Sometimes reciprocation is very painful. The response is very painful and leaves us feeling more morose at the end. Each time we set out to do our activities with expectation that we will receive happiness in return, but then our desires and our attempts are frustrated. So it is not that Pingala alone is trying to satisfy various people. We also are trying to do that. And we are also facing frustration and failure. At work, we see how sometimes we even have to, not just at work, even in general, sometimes we have to satisfy people with whom our ideals may completely clash. With simply to get by in our career and to get by in our daily affairs, we have to deal with them. We have to accept what they say. We sometimes even have to smile and tolerate whatever they say or do. And this is very, very common in material life, not just for a woman, but for every kind of living entity. But Pingala is different in that she could identify the degraded condition of her situation, and she could apply her intelligence immediately to raise herself to a much higher platform, a platform from where she could not be, or she would not be shaken. So while the story of Pingala begins as a typical day in her life, where she is in the city waiting anxiously for a customer, she is dressed in her best, full of confidence that she can satisfy the people who come to her, that she has it in her to make them happy and to gain what she wants, which is money. She is very eagerly waiting to satisfy her customers. In some cases, she even thinks that maybe these customers may actually reciprocate her love. This comes in one of the purports, that she has a very romanticized view of her profession sometimes, anticipating that maybe this person may become someone who will love me truly. But the fact is that not only is her profession one that will never give her that kind of love, nor is it even feasible in the material world that you will get that kind of love. So as she waits like this from the evening on towards the night, there is no reciprocation, there is no response. People go one by one, and Pingala eyes each of them as a potential customer, as a source of her livelihood, and expects, vainly hoping, as the verse says in the translation, with vain hope that the next person is going to satisfy her, the next person is going to enjoy her company and pay the price. But none of them respond. Slowly, her eagerness turns to a kind of restlessness, and she starts moving in and out of the house, hoping that someone would come. She goes out to check every once in a while and then comes back again. Evening turns to night, and her anticipation turns to frustration. The frustration turns to hopelessness. And in this hopelessness, she suddenly experiences detachment. This detachment gives her an objective view of herself and her very pitiable condition. And Pingala finally sees her reality for what it truly is. In this mood, she begins her prayers. So Pingala's hopelessness for her led to something much higher. But it doesn't always work like that. We see some cases where excessive or very deep hopelessness leads people even lower. They allow themselves to be consumed by those feelings and end up becoming more and more depressed, disappointed, cynical, and sometimes turn to destructive tendencies, destructive towards themselves and even to others. In that kind of hopelessness, the detachment or the indifference that comes, the indifference that takes you lower, tends to several people turning to antisocial behavior. But Pingala's hopelessness did not lead to that kind of detachment. Pingala's detachment took her much higher. It took her to a plane where she could separate herself from her experiences and see that what she is going through is something separate from what she is as a person. So this is very important. It is not just enough that we develop detachment. Detachment comes, detachment, if you take it as an English term, it means indifference or kind of a no care attitude. But we see that often even in some very negligent youth also, or in people who are not very responsible. That is also one kind of detachment, but that detachment is not something that is fueled by knowledge or by awareness, but by a desire for more sense gratification. Pingala, on the other hand, had developed a detachment that took her to the heights of knowledge. So, an analogy that comes to my mind is uh, when we have a trampoline. A trampoline is a kind of equipment on which you jump on, and then it throws you up into the air. So some children like to play on it, and adults also like to play on it. So the more you push yourself down on the trampoline, the higher you go up. So Pingala's desperation, her desolation, and her hopelessness was taking her very, very, very low, to the depths of loneliness and frustration. But she used that as leverage to push herself up to a very great height of realization. As we'll see from her prayers, Pingala's prayers are not just something that is like, oh, it's not like the story of the fox and the grapes, where the fox, after repeated attempts, failed, and then he just, he declares that these grapes are too sour. That is a kind of the detachment that comes from frustration, but not from knowledge. So when you cannot get what you want, you decide to renounce it. So Pingala's knowledge, or her renunciation, and her detachment are very deep, as we will see from her prayers. So this is the kind of detachment that we should welcome in our lives. Also, what is beautiful about Pingala is that she uses this opportunity, this very painful opportunity. Pingala uses this very painful experience to immediately turn to Krishna. For a devotee, it is a known fact that we are supposed to see Krishna's hand in everything and understand that there is a lesson for us in every situation that comes. Pingala behaves exactly like that, and she takes this opportunity to detach herself. Or as she admits, the detachment came to her as a blessing, and she doesn't know what she did to deserve it, but she goes on to thank the Lord for giving her that suffering, as we'll see in the prayers. we see many examples of this, how Krishna, the Lord, forces devotees to detach themselves by putting them through excessive pain or through a very traumatic or difficult situation. For example, King Parikshit, when he is cursed by the Brahmana, he immediately takes the opportunity to detach himself. He says, he admits, or he rather thanks the Lord for giving him this chance to separate himself from the encumbrances of family and all its attendant responsibilities, the duties of a king. And he was an exemplary king, so it was a great loss for the kingdom. But he also admits that he was attached to his position and to his service of doing the duties of a king and of being taking care of his family. But by putting him in this situation, Krishna gave him a chance to automatically detach himself. So this is what devotees do. They automatically take that route of thanking the Lord and taking this chance to detach themselves. Another example is Arjuna. So Arjuna, as he comes onto the battlefield, he's put into such deep trauma and pain that in the end he just surrenders to Krishna. Is now I don't know what is right for me. Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava. Please instruct me. Accept me as your disciple and instruct me. Srila Prabhupada would often share the analogy of how he also was forcibly made to leave all his attachments and his business when his business went into loss. And he would tell that this was great mercy from the side of the Lord, that he would forcibly detach his devotees. He would forcibly put them into a poverty-stricken condition so that all those who were attached to them would gradually leave the devotee one by one, leaving him free to completely engage in the Lord's service. So the intelligent devotee takes any difficulty or any reversal as a sign to switch his gear and slowly surrender to the Lord and learn from that situation. Kunti Devi, in fact, invites such opportunities so that she can surrender to the Lord more and more. So that is the way of the advanced devotees. And we see Pingala doing that. So now we'll recite her prayers. Due to shortage of time, I will just go on reciting so that whoever has the lyrics can sing along. We'll read the translations later. Pingalo vacha aho me moha vitatim pashyata vijitatmanah ya kanta dasatah kamam kamayena balisha santam samipe ramanam ratipradam vittapradam nityamimam vihaya akamadam dukkha bhayadhishoka moha pradam tuchhamaham bhajenya aho mayatma paritapito vrutha sanketya vrityati vigarhya vartaya strैनान्नराद्यार्थतृशोऽनुशोच्यात् कृतेन वित्तं रतिमात्मनेच्छति यदस्थिभिर्निर्मतवंशवंश्या स्थूनं त्वचारो मनखैः पिनद्धं क्षरन्नवद्वारमगारमेतत् विण्मूत्रपूर्णं मदुपैति कान्या विदेहानां पुरेह्यस्मिन् अहमेकैव मूढधीः यान्यमिच्छन्त्यसत्यस्मात् आत्मदात् काममच्युतात् सुहृत्प्रेष्ठतमो नाथ आत्मछायं शरीरिणां तं विक्रियात्मनैवाहं रमेणेन यथा रामा कियत् प्रियं ते व्यभजन् कामाये कामदानराः आद्यन्तवन्तो भार्याय देवा वा कालविद्रुताः नूनं मे भगवान् प्रीतो विष्णुः केनापि कर्मणा निर्वेदोऽयं दुराशाय यन्मे जातः सुखावहः मैवं स्युर्मन्दभाग्याय क्लेशनिर्वेदहेतवः येनानुबन्धं निर्हृत्य पुरुषः शममृच्छति तेनोपकृतमादाय शिरसा ग्राम्यसङ्गताः त्यक्त्वा दुराशा शरणं व्रजामि तमधीश्वरम् सन्तुष्टः श्रद्धधत्येतद् यथा लाभेन जीवति विहराम्यमुनैवाहम् आत्मना रमणेन वै संसारकूपे पतितं विषयैर्मुषिते क्षणं ग्रस्तं कालाहीनात्मानं कोऽन्यस्त्रातुमधीश्वरः आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो गोप्ता निर्विद्येत यथाखिलात् अप्रमत्त इदं पश्येद् ग्रस्तं कालाहिना जगत्. These are her prayers. We'll read the translations now. The prostitute Pingala said, "Just see how greatly illusioned I am. Because I cannot control my mind, just like a fool, I desire lusty pleasure from an insignificant man. I am such a fool that I have given up the service of that person who, being eternally situated within my heart, is actually most dear to me. That most dear one is the Lord of the universe, who is the bestower of real love and happiness, and the source of all prosperity. Although he is in my own heart, I have completely neglected him. Instead, I have ignorantly served insignificant men who can never satisfy my real desires and who have simply brought me unhappiness, fear, anxiety, lamentation, and illusion. Oh, how I have uselessly tortured my own soul. I have sold my body to lusty, greedy men who are themselves objects of pity. Thus, practicing the most abominable profession of a prostitute, I hope to get money and sex pleasure. This material body is like a house in which I, the soul, am living. The bones forming my spine, ribs, arms, and legs are like the beams, cross beams, and pillars of the house. And the whole structure, which is full of stool and urine, is covered by skin, hair, and nails. The 9 doors leading into this body are constantly excreting foul substances. Besides me, what woman could be so foolish as to devote herself to this material body, thinking that she might find pleasure and love in this contraption? Certainly in this city of Vaideha, I alone am completely foolish. I neglected the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who awards us everything, even our original spiritual form, and instead, I desired to enjoy sense gratification with many men." So up to this verse, we can see how Pingala gradually, from her self, how do you say it? She's first criticizing herself or chastising herself for being illusioned, for not being able to control her mind, and for being a fool to desire insignificant happiness from insignificant sources. She understands that the people whom she was seeking happiness from are themselves deep in the net of illusion. So, what happiness can they provide her? She realizes that she is such a fool that the ultimate bestower of happiness, love, and prosperity, for which she was seeking support from insignificant men around her, the original and the most abundant supplier of all of these things was within herself, in her heart, as the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has been accompanying us life after life, our eternal well-wisher and friend, can provide all these to us. But instead, we turn to people who are themselves suffering from the 3 modes in the material world, for happiness, love, and prosperity. So when we serve all these mundane masters, what we actually get is unhappiness, which is the opposite of happiness, fear, anxiety, lamentation, and illusion. Quite the opposite of what we are seeking. So she understands that what she was doing was in fact torturing her own soul. And in this way, she slowly realizes that her profession is in fact so abominable that this body, which is in fact a source of all kinds of foul substances, was her source of pleasure and her source of devotion. She actually expected that she would get happiness and fulfillment from devoting herself to this body and to several people who are entangled in such bodies. With this kind of detached view, she sees herself for what she is, her profession for what it actually is, her body for what it really is, just a structure made of bones, spine, ribs, crossbeams, like a structure which is covered with skin, hair, and nails and filled with stool and urine. And she sees that she wasted so much time engaging in its service rather than in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can award us everything, even our original spiritual form. Moving on, Pingala starts glorifying the Supreme Person. She says the Supreme Personality of Godhead is absolutely the most dear one for all living beings because he is everyone's well-wisher and Lord. He is the Supreme Soul situated in everyone's heart. Therefore, I will now pay the price of complete surrender, and thus purchasing the Lord, I will enjoy with him, just like Lakshmi Devi. So she understands that rather than choosing to enjoy herself, it is best for her to just surrender to the Supreme Person and engage in his service by paying the price of complete surrender. Men provide sense gratification for women, but all these men, and even the demigods in heaven, have a beginning and an end. They are all temporary creations who will be dragged away by time. Therefore, how much actual pleasure or happiness could any of them ever give to their wives? So Pingala sees the folly or the futility of material love. Nobody who is already entangled or in a pitiable state can give happiness. Someone who does not have something cannot give it to someone else. So the men of this world and the women of this world are all struggling to deal with the great serpent of time and managing their own miseries. How can such people, such creations give pleasure or happiness to anyone else? Pingala continues, although I most stubbornly hoped to enjoy the material world, somehow or other, Hare Krishna. Very good. Can I continue? Okay. Good. Somehow or other, detachment has arisen in my heart and is making me very happy. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, must be pleased with me. Without even knowing it, I must have performed some activity satisfying to him. Pingala herself is surprised by her sudden change of heart. And she sees that detachment has somehow come into her heart and it is making her so happy. So, detachment being referred to here is that understanding that we are not the controllers of anything and only the Supreme Personality is actually in control. Even personally, we would have experienced that when we understand this fact that we are not in control and everything is in the hand of the Supreme Person, it makes us extremely blissful. So this happiness is what is being experienced by Pingala. And her stubborn hope, even though she stubbornly hoped to enjoy, the material world, somehow Vishnu has forcibly put her in a situation which has led to detachment coming in her heart. A person who has developed detachment can give up the bondage of material society, friendship, and love. And a person who undergoes great suffering gradually becomes, out of hopelessness, detached and indifferent to the material world. Thus, due to my great suffering, such detachment awoke in my heart. Yet, how could I have undergone such merciful suffering if I were actually unfortunate? Therefore, I am in fact fortunate and have received the mercy of the Lord. He must somehow or other be pleased with me. What is really beautiful about Pingala is that she does not harp on her past. So she is not uh, decry or degrading herself even further, or saying that, oh, I was in such a bad profession, I don't deserve to take shelter of the Supreme Person. Pingala appreciates her good fortune and she understands that she can take shelter of the Supreme Person. Every one of us has hope of redemption and of protection and love from Krishna. So this is what is beautiful about Pingala, in that she jumped up to the heights of detachment and she secured herself at the lotus feet of the Supreme Person and in his love. By being placed there, she is protected, because once you are attached to Krishna, your detachment is worth it. In fact, attachment to Krishna naturally brings about detachment. So what to speak about if you have detached yourself and then you go and attach yourself to Krishna? So the ideal process is that from knowledge, detachment develops, and from detachment, understanding of the Supreme Personality's shelter and beginning to serve his lotus feet. When devotional service becomes our constant activity or our attachment, then the detachment is permanent, or it stays, it's sustainable. Otherwise, detachment will not lead to greater progress. It will just lead to a kind of hard-hearted cynicism or a very impersonal nature. So Pingala is not only appreciating the suffering that she sees as a blessing from the Lord, she considers herself fortunate. She does not condemn herself. She accepts this mercy. She sees it as a blessing, and she is very grateful for what is happening to her right now. She continues, with devotion, I accept the great benefit that the Lord has bestowed upon me. Having given up my sinful desires for ordinary sense gratification, I now take shelter of Him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the perfection of detachment. If we can go and take shelter immediately of the Supreme Person at that point of hopelessness and detachment, then that is perfection. She continues, I am now completely satisfied and I have full faith in the Lord's mercy. Therefore, I will maintain myself with whatever comes of its own accord. I shall enjoy life with only the Lord, because He is the real source of love and happiness. Pingala has no other means of livelihood other than prostitution. So it is her means of sustenance, and she was going on about it as her livelihood, her means of income and her daily upkeep. But now that she has decided not to engage in this abominable profession, which is not only degrading her body but also her soul, she decides that she will maintain herself simply on the Lord's mercy. Whatever He sends for her, she will accept as what is ordained for her. In this mood of surrender, she decides, and she feels completely satisfied. Next, he says, the intelligence of the living entity is stolen away by activities of sense gratification, and thus he falls into the dark well of material existence. Within that well, he is then seized by the deadly serpent of time. Who else but the Supreme Personality of Godhead could save the poor living entity from such a hopeless condition? when the living entity sees that the entire universe has been seized by the serpent of time, he becomes sober and sane, and at that time detaches himself from all material sense gratification. In that condition, the living entity is qualified to be his own protector. She is basically just outlining what went on. After seeing that the entire universe has been seized by the serpent of time, she became sober and sane and detached herself from material sense gratification. With this, Pingala's prayers end and the Brahmana takes over the narration again. He continues, the Avaduta said, thus her mind completely made up. Pingala cut off all her sinful desires to enjoy sex pleasure with lovers, and she became situated in perfect peace. Then she sat down on her bed. Material desire is undoubtedly the cause of the greatest unhappiness, and freedom from such desire is the cause of the greatest happiness. This, in fact, is the learning that the Avaduta Brahmana has taken from Pingala. That material desire is the cause of the greatest unhappiness, and freedom from desire for sense gratification leads to the greatest happiness. The Avaduta Brahmana continues, therefore, completely cutting off her desire to enjoy so-called lovers, Pingala very happily went to sleep. So the progression is as such. First, there is frustration. First, of course, there is expectation. Then there is frustration of desires. Frustration leads to hopelessness. Hopelessness can lead you either to the depths of despair or to the heights of detachment, knowledgeable detachment. And from the heights of knowledgeable detachment, when one places oneself in the service of the Supreme Person and understands that He alone can reciprocate with our propensity to love and can provide us with whatever we need, then there is peace, great peace and satisfaction. Only this will give happiness. So the more and more we expect that some happiness will come from the material world, we will only become more and more disappointed and frustrated. And that desire is what keeps us coming back into the material world. To actually liberate ourselves, we need to understand that there is nothing to be gained, no happiness to be gained in this material world. Whatever we see here or whatever we experience is just a shimmer of the actual pleasure that we will get when we are engaged in the service of the Supreme Person. So the Avaduta Brahmana concludes the story of Pingala with this teaching. For me, it was a very reflective exercise to see how Pingala very intelligently used her despair, her very painful situation, to elevate her consciousness. This is the perfection of intelligence. And clearly, she is not a normal or a average prostitute or an average woman who just goes by life. She has a great depth of knowledge, possibly from her past lives or probably by some association that she received in this lifetime. But she brought that knowledge to use at the very apt time, and in this way made her life perfect. So with this, I would like to conclude. Thank you very much for your kindness and for tolerating my uh, words. So if there are any points that I have missed or anything that you feel needs to get added to these, please kindly